The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Naisha Shah. Naisha is the VP of Data Science at BioAge Labs. Naisha, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Naisha, let's start with yourself, please, as we do with all of our guests. Could you give us an overview of your background and your journey in technology, from where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way, and what's led you to where you are today at BioAge Labs?
Yeah, so I started my journey with a computer science and molecular bachelor's degree. And then I did my PhD in computational genomics. And for my postdoc, I joined a systems biology lab. And this is where my interest peaked in machine learning applications, especially on integrated omics data sets. And when I say omics data sets, I mean molecular data that's generated with all sorts of technologies, mainly in terms of genetics, transcriptomics, proteomics, and different cell types that circulate in your body. And I got really excited because initially, I worked with genomics mainly, and it gave you a picture. But then when you start integrating these different molecular data sets, it really started putting this really nice complex picture together, much more refined and more precise, I would say, closer to precise picture of our systems biology, which is supposed to be very complex. And this is back in the day when the integration of omics data was still very new. And it was exciting. So I kind of knew that I wanted to be at that intersection of things. And then I joined a startup called Human Longevity Inc. And that really got my journey started in aging and longevity and how we can utilize data science towards precision health and preventative medicine. And it kind of blew my mind to think that we can target the aging process rather than targeting individual age-related diseases. And yeah, I'm very privileged to be working at BioAge Labs as the VP of Data Science.
Amazing. Thank you for the background. I think you've already given some indicators as to what drew you to BioAge Labs, but let's set the stage. Tell us all about BioAge Labs, who you are, what you do, mission of the business.
So our mission at BioAge is to identify molecular causes of aging and then targeting them so that we can have a healthier lifespan. And the bold vision the co-founders, Kristen Courtney and Eric Morgan, had was, can we grow older without aging per se, meaning that can we aim to have a healthy lifespan, the one without a lot of diseases and frailty and all the things that come with aging.
Very, very cool indeed. I want to understand now what makes BioAge's approach distinctive and how does the platform work?
The co-founders very early on knew that the best way to study aging is by utilizing natural experiments in humans that are around us. And when I say natural experiments, people who actually go on to living in their 100 plus, and not just that, living longer, but actually more importantly, who are living a healthier lifestyle. So these are the individuals that are still independent even when they are 100 plus, and they're still they're cognitively sound and they don't have major comorbidities. And so can we start learning from their biology as to what makes them be healthy? And so we have our human first discovery platform that is built on data from individuals that were followed for decades, and they had their biosamples banked. They had information on what's their grip strength and walking speed and all the health span related phenotypes. And so we have this data that spans over about 45 years on the same individuals. And so that helps us take a peek in the decades of human aging biology. And I think That's super interesting because we get to study human aging process compared to others who study aging in terms of other animal models. And so I think that makes it very exciting.
So, Naisha, could you give us a more detailed overview of the platform and then help us understand your role and your team's responsibilities on the data science side, how it all comes together?
Our platform is composed of 6 key steps. Like I mentioned, we have these proprietary relationships with these cohort or biobanks where we have this unique human cohort. So we start with that cohort and then we go on to characterizing their molecular making by measuring their proteome, for example, or metabolome. So we capture their molecular essence of their biology. And then this is when data science comes into play. This is when we start analyzing these unique cohorts to better understand the aging mechanisms and identifying key drivers of these aging mechanisms. And that helps us identify drug targets. And once these drug targets are prioritized, they go into the next step of our pipeline, which is validation of these drug targets. And we use several lab experiments, especially we use naturally aged mice to validate some of these mechanisms of action. And once we've validated, we've gone through this thorough process, we then either in-license an existing compound to target this protein, or we develop our novel molecules. And then once we have that, then we take them through our clinical trials, and that's how we show that it works.
Obviously, a lot of what we've talked about today is very much on the science side, which I know is where your background sits. But data science in this field is quite complex and can often be difficult for people to understand if they don't have the scientific background. So, could you help our audience, of particularly those coming from the non-life science space, to better understand the use case applications of data science in BioAge and the industry as a whole?
It's definitely a very interesting question, right? Because there are several ways one can apply data science on this type of data sets. Obviously, there is unsupervised learning, supervised learning, there are some prediction models and whatnot. But the thing to remember is that aging is quite complex, as is like all our biological processes. And so one of the things I get excited about is applying network-based methods onto our biological data, because each gene or protein is not working in isolation. It's always like networks of things. So that's how biology works, and that's how a lot of things work. And so in our data science team, we do have obviously insights that we generate on these unique cohorts by doing machine learning, but then we also incorporate external data sets into our knowledge graph where we get to do AI and machine learning and network-based method application to extract knowledge. And what I mean by knowledge is the main goal for our team is to identify proteins that we can target.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
So, Naisha, I want to now help our audience visualize what it's like to work at BioAge in a bit more detail. Can you describe the team that you work with, the environment, and what makes it such a great place to work?
So I work with great data scientists in my team. We have expertise in machine learning, AI, network biology. We have individuals that work with genetics data to infer causality. So just because you see an association between a protein and some disease doesn't mean that protein causes the disease. So it's important for us to identify causal relationship. We also have engineers who help us build our network database and analyze that. So this is data science team. And then in addition, obviously, we have our scientists that sits downstream of us that help us validate these targets. And we have aging experts who've been in this field for a really long time. And then we have A large proportion of our company also is on the clinical side. So these are the people who go and take this drug and do the clinical trials, and we show that it works, and it's exciting. And I have to mention that we also have a really large animal vivarium, and that's where we do a lot of our target validation as well. So it's a great group of people from different domains that sits together to solve this puzzle of aging and how we can mitigate its effect.
So it's a very cool mission that you're working on, but a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is research and understanding impact. When will we be able to benefit from this? How far are we away from BioWave achieving its mission? And what are some of the biggest barriers that you face along that journey?
We are a clinical stage biotech. So I know I talked about research and find things, but we also take these targets and compounds that we've identified to clinical trials to prove that it works. And so we recently announced positive results, and it's super exciting for our BG105 compound, which is a small molecule compound. And it is a apelin receptor APJ agonist. And it's a very cool story because apelin is an exerkine, meaning that it's a thing that gets induced. So it's a peptide hormone that gets induced when you exercise. And as we know, exercise and longevity are very closely tied together. And so in our cohort, we saw this apelin signature that really correlates very well with improved muscle function and less reduced frailty and longer health lifespan. And so we announced this really successful phase 1b clinical trial, which showed that the drug actually prevents muscle atrophy in older people on voluntary strict bed rest. And it's exciting. The reason I mention this is because typically it can take about a decade or so or more to complete the 3 phases of clinical trial, and after which you apply for FDA approval, and that takes on some more time. And so we have this de-risking strategy where we go and identify compounds that people have developed and have shown great phase 1 safety data, but it's been shelved because of several reasons. And so we in-license this particular compound with Amgen. And so we're de-risking it. So we're hoping that this can help us deliver the results or the effective medications to patients faster.
So, Naisha, a lot of what you're talking about is a long-term return on investments that you're making now. So it's a lot of work where you're maybe decades down the line. So how do you stay motivated? How do you get up in the morning to focus on this, knowing that it has a long time span before you're going to really see the benefits and rewards? What helps keep you focused on the today?
To be honest, for me, it's knowing that this is going to, and I'm hoping it will, to make a huge impact on people, right? Because remember, aging happens to everybody. It's a huge economic and personal burden, right? So as a mother, I've spent several days in neonatal ICU with my newborn, and I remember feeling so helpless because all I wanted to do was to protect my newborn. And around me, there were other children going through similar story and their family going through similar adversity. And I remember seeing doctors and nurses being so comforting and helping, and it inspires me. And it reminds me that what's important to me is to make a huge impact in human health. And what I can leverage here is my skill set and my expertise in biology and computer science and machine learning. And so now I see my older family members going through these ill effects of aging. And so it breaks my heart, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful because there are companies like BioAge and that are fighting this thing that really with the hope that we can all age healthier. And so that gets me up every night, and it keeps me up because because being at the intersection of technology and biology, I want to identify the next best thing in AI, even though it goes through several hype cycles, but can we leverage the advancements that are happening in data science and help towards that goal by applying these methods onto biological data. And so that it keeps me up because I want to find a way to identify these transformative opportunities to keep BioAge platform on the cutting edge of identifying drug targets discovery. That keeps me up at night.
Final question for me then, Naisha. I was speaking to an audience of data professionals, data scientists, data engineers, people who work in computational sciences. They listen into the show often to hear about companies who are doing interesting work in the space and also who are potentially going to be hiring in the future. So as our audience is listening, and some will find what you're talking about very fascinating, what does the growth plan look like over the next 1 to 2 years, and what opportunities will there be for people working in data to come and join you and help you in this mission?
As I mentioned, that we recently announced a successful phase 1b trial for our BG105 program. We are excited to move forward with this particular compound and take it to phase 2 trial. And this means growth for us. This is like validating our process. This is validating our mission. And so we're going to continue on this journey. And so what's coming in the near future is us taking this drug there, and we're growing our portfolio at this time. And so what this means for data science is that we have newer collaborations with other biobanks that we're bringing in the data. We're analyzing it. We're coming out with these targets and growing our portfolio, and hopefully launching more clinical trials in the coming years.
Naisha, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. It was great to learn about your background and your journey through academia, following your interest in sciences, and what's led you now to a vice president of data science role. The work you're trying to do at BioAge Labs sounds very futuristic, but it's not that far away given the advancement of technology and the use of AI. And it's something that when you guys are successful and the broader community, we'll all benefit from it. So thanks for coming on and sharing your story. We wish you, the team, and everyone at BioAge the best of luck in the months and years to come. And we look forward to having you back on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.